Caitlin Clark and
I'm a fan.
Angel Reese, right?
Yeah.
They're going back and forth.
I'm a fan of both.
And Jamil Hill says by the time Angel Reese is done, she's going to be the Michael Jordan of WNBA.
She said about Angel Reese?
She said Angel Reese, by the time she retires, can you pull up this quote? She said, by the time she retires, she will be the MJ of, go to Jamil Hill, type in Jamil Hill, yeah. She says, by the time she retires, Jamil Hill has made a bold prediction that Angel Reese will become the MJ of the WNBA by the time she retires.
Patrick Bet-David just said what ESPN won't. He went on camera, named Angel Reese directly, and said every single WNBA player should be praying Caitlin Clark doesn't get injured. And honestly, it wasn't even close. Because while Angel Reese was on live TV floating the idea of sitting out the 2026 season, Caitlin Clark was sitting at the NBA on NBC desk telling the country she's confident a deal gets done.
Well, honestly, I don't think it's just a big moment for the WNBA. I think all of women's sports, I think this is one of the biggest moments we've ever had. So, I feel very confident that we're going to get something done, and that's because we're in this moment because of the product we put on the floor. So we need to be able to continue to do that, and I know everybody's working really hard. There's a meeting tomorrow that's super important, and I truly do believe we're going to get something done here in the next couple of weeks. But like you said, I mean, there's a lot of boxes that we still need to check. We've added two new teams. I mean, there's going to be more players than ever, and then we have to get into free agency, then have a normal draft as well. So there's a lot of things left to do, but I really do feel confident that both sides are going to reach a deal here soon. Yeah.
That contrast is everything. Let's break down exactly what Bet-David said and why this moment changes the entire conversation around the WNBA.
You watch these videos with Angel Reese, she's literally throwing the ball off the backboard. Man. Like, honestly, she must, there's a part of me that wants to compliment her. I take a lot of shots at Angel Reese. I don't want you to think the only thing I do is take shots at her. Ooh. I don't think anyone in the NBA has the level of faith that Angel Reese has, because she goes in and she just throws the ball up.
She doesn't even care where it goes.
She doesn't know where it's going. But the level of faith to have, to believe that the ball's going to go in, I don't think anybody in the WNBA has.
Something about her
You understand
game,
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, she goes in and it's like, and it just goes like this. And I just watch it. It's a moment of faith. I have an emotional connection with God when I watch her play because, you tell me you believe in God like Angel Reese does.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people that have her level of faith. Watch this. Look at this.
Not a care in the world. Look at this. Michael Jordan. Jordan! No,
but you tell me.
Michael
you
Jordan.
have that kind of faith? I don't have that kind of faith.
One more.
What is this?
I don't have that kind of faith.
Hold on.
Bet-David isn't a beat reporter. He doesn't need locker room access. He doesn't need credentials. He's a businessman. He looks at leverage, money, and incentives. So when Reese went on live stream and casually suggested players could sit out 2026 if they don't get what they want, Bet-David reframed it instantly. He said you don't get to threaten to sit out a season you didn't build.
So what will a strike actually accomplish if it's just a marketing fee anyway?
We will see. By the way, I have to tell you, Caitlin Clark, minus what comments she made last year, I have no interest watching her now after the comments that she made. Zero interest in watching her. She was actually exciting.
She got white guilt.
She was actually exciting to watch, and I'm out. And honestly, I was one that was defending her. I'm like, you know what? You want to make a comment like that? Another person that's out, I have no interest in watching any of it. She was the one that was going to get an audience like me to sit there and watch a game with a daughter of mine. I got two of them. After that comment was made, I'm out.
That line hit because the power players feel like they have right now. That didn't just appear out of nowhere. The attendance spike didn't appear out of nowhere. The TV ratings didn't appear out of nowhere. The sponsorship surge didn't appear out of nowhere. Let's look at the numbers. Attendance jumped nearly 50% in a single year. Merchandise sales exploded over 600%. ESPN viewership jumped more than 170%. The All-Star Game crossed 4 million viewers.
WNBA's attendance had a record-breaking high in 20 years with a total of 2.3 million fans attending games. Okay? You know what the increase was from 2024 to 2023 in attendance in a year? 48%. That's massive for them. So that's the argument they're making. That's the Caitlin Clark effect.
Phenomenon, yeah.
Then, and when it comes down to merch from 23 to 24, they're up 601%. Then when it comes down to being broadcasted on ESPN, they average 1.2 million viewers per game, 170% increase. So the viewership is higher, and they're asking for the money. And if the contract on the back end, the revenue, NBA gets 50+% to players, they do 9.3. There's an argument for it to be played. But you're right. If Caitlin Clark gets injured, it's over with.
Before Caitlin Clark entered the league, the WNBA was averaging roughly 6,000 fans per game. 6,000. The growth isn't subtle. It isn't gradual. It isn't debatable. It is the Caitlin Clark effect. And that's where Bet David's argument cuts deep. If Clark is the reason the league suddenly has leverage, then threatening to sit out the season isn't flexing power. It's gambling with someone else's work. Now let's talk about the CBA moment that made this even worse. The Players Association publicly said the league showed up to negotiations without a proposal. That narrative spread fast. Owners empty-handed, disrespect, bad faith. But then the numbers leaked. There was a proposal, a $5 million starting salary cap, individual max salaries climbing toward $1.3 million, potentially $2.4 million by 2031, expanded benefits, new protections. The union's counter was higher, around $10.5 million cap, 30% revenue share, $2.5 million max. That's fine, that's negotiation, but telling fans there was no offer. When there was an offer, that's different. Public trust cracked right there, and optics matter. Owners flew in. They came with documents. Meanwhile, 2 executive committee members dialed into the most important labor meeting in league history over Zoom. That's not illegal, but it sends a message. Now layer this on top. Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart co-founded Unrivaled, a 3-on-3 off-season league. That league depends on WNBA players needing additional income. If WNBA salaries rise dramatically, off-season incentive changes. So when negotiations stall, when talks escalate, when leverage gets pushed to the edge, you have to ask a simple question. Who benefits? Maybe it's coincidence, but fans are connecting dots. And while all of this noise is happening, where is Caitlin Clark? She's on NBC. Primetime, calm, composed, breaking down basketball. When asked about the CBA, she didn't threaten, she didn't posture, she didn't escalate. She said she feels very confident a deal gets done. That's leadership. That's stability. Sponsors watch that, networks watch that, executives watch that. There's a difference between fighting for better terms and signaling uncertainty about the product itself. And right now, the WNBA cannot afford uncertainty. The league has reportedly been losing around $40 million a year. This isn't the NFL. This isn't the NBA. This is fragile growth. And fans feel that tension. That's why the backlash has turned personal. Angel Reese's comment sections don't look the same as they did a year ago. Veterans who spent 2 seasons downplaying Clark's impact are now posting about CBA leverage and getting ratioed instantly. The internet kept the receipts, because here's what this really is about. It's not about salary math. It's not about percentage splits. It's about perception. Fans watched Clark sell out arenas on the road. They watched her move TV ratings. They watched her bring in new fans who were told they didn't know enough about WNBA history. And now they're watching some of those same voices threaten to sit out the season that Clark's momentum made valuable. It feels backwards. It feels like someone cashing a check they didn't write. That's why Bet David's comments resonated. He didn't yell louder. He didn't go viral because of theatrics. He went viral because he said something simple and clean. If Caitlin Clark gets injured tomorrow, the leverage disappears. And deep down, everyone knows it. This isn't about choosing sides between players. It's about recognizing who is behaving like 2026 matters. Clark walks into NBC like she belongs there, because she does. No threats, no drama, no ultimatums, just confidence in the product. Meanwhile, banning direct communication between players and owners during delicate negotiations doesn't signal progress. It signals siege mode. And siege mode is dangerous when you're still building the foundation. Here's the bottom line. The face of a growing league protects its future. It doesn't gamble with it. Right now, one player is stabilizing the narrative. The other is escalating it. Bet David didn't destroy Angel Reese because he was louder. He destroyed the argument because the numbers don't lie. And in a league fighting for long-term credibility, perception might matter even more than pay structure.
I think a role I can play in this conversation, because I see both sides of the debate, is to take the devil's advocate position to whatever you're saying. So if the answer that she gave had been, Caitlin Clark has brought an unprecedented level of interest and excitement to our game, and we are thrilled to be able to bring that to the world stage, would that not have been a reasonable response?
Not if your ultimate mission is winning gold.
Yeah.
Think about this, CJ. I'll bring you into this. You've played on elite teams, and I know this might not be your area as far as Caitlin Clark's, and that's fine. But listen, how important is team chemistry?
It's a test, not of Caitlin Clark, of the narrative built around her. Because if she dominates again, the not ready argument doesn't just look outdated, it looks manufactured.
But what woman is more popular?
If you wanna go from a marketing perspective, sure, Caitlin is extremely marketable. However, I just want to pitch this to everyone. Imagine Caitlin joining this team and spending time on the bench. What is the conversation going to be about the entire time the Olympics is going on? Why isn't Caitlin getting more minutes? Why isn't Caitlin playing? I'm sure people will tune in, but what will the conversation be then? I think it's really interesting. Head coach Christy Sides for the Indiana Fever said that a monster was woken up in Caitlin Clark, and I think that is wonderful. I think motivation for Caitlin is wonderful. I'm gonna say this, a monster has been woken in all of the women that were selected for the Olympic team also, because the conversation is again centered around Caitlin Clark.
Think about where we are right now. The Olympic snub was framed as protection. The debut softened the criticism. The endorsement numbers shifted the power. Now there's a second performance coming. And second performances are dangerous. One strong game can be dismissed as adrenaline. Two becomes pattern. And once it's a pattern, you can't sell hesitation anymore. This is why March 11th matters. Because if she controls tempo again, if she bends coverage again, if ratings spike again, the conversation changes permanently. You can't call it early. You can't call it hype. You can't call it development. It becomes momentum. And momentum forces accountability. Here's the uncomfortable part. The Olympic narrative was built on timing. She'll get there. Not yet. Too soon. But what happens if not yet keeps getting disproven in real time? What happens if the adjustment period never actually shows up? Because so far, it hasn't. Her range is there. Her vision is there. Her pace control is there. The only thing that was missing was exposure. Now she has it, which makes March 11th more than a game. It's a spotlight stress test, and the media knows it. Because if she performs again under this level of attention, the framing shifts from cautious to reactive. And reactive media coverage is harder to control. You can feel it already. The language is more careful. The takes are less absolute. The certainty is diluted. Why? Because nobody wants to be on the wrong side of the clip that ages poorly. And if she dominates on March 11th, that clip becomes unavoidable. But here's the deeper layer. This isn't just about her performance. It's about the audience response. If viewership spikes again, if social engagement accelerates again, if highlight clips trend again, then the Olympic narrative doesn't just look wrong. It looks disconnected from reality. And disconnection creates distrust because fans aren't just watching games anymore. They're tracking commentary, they're comparing takes, they're noticing tone shifts. So when the next performance happens, it won't just be evaluated on the scoreboard. It'll be evaluated against the past statements. That's what makes it a referendum. If she struggles, critics feel validated. If she shines, critics look premature. There's no neutral outcome. And that's rare. Most games are just games. This one feels like a verdict because the Olympic narrative was built on the assumption that she needed time. Time is running. And the more she accelerates, the less convincing that assumption becomes, which creates pressure, not on her, on the people who frame the story. Because once the evidence stacks high enough, silence becomes obvious. And pivoting becomes awkward. That's why March 11th is dangerous. Not because it defines her, but because it exposes everyone else. If she dominates again, the phrase "not ready" won't just fade. It'll sound absurd. And once a narrative sounds absurd, it collapses quickly. Which leaves one final question. If the readiness narrative collapses publicly, who owns the mistake? And what happens when the audience decides the story was controlled from the beginning? That's the part nobody wants to confront, because once that door opens, you can't close it quietly.
None of what Janae and Andrea said was inaccurate. And I'm going to say something to you that I have said on many, many occasions. It's not that you're wrong. It's that we don't care. Everything y'all said does not matter for this particular instance. We don't want to hear anything about Team USA. We know they won 7 straight goals. Put Andrea and Shanae up on this screen. I want to look at them this whole segment when I'm talking to them. You just highlighted 7 straight gold medals. Oh my God. We're really worried that they're not going to get an 8th. Oh, we really worried. I mean, we got to make sure that spots 1 through 12, every single spot that is picked. I mean, it's got to be, because it's pivotal, Shannon. I don't know if you noticed, Shannon, it's pivotal. I mean, they won 7 straight. They might not get 8. They might not get 8. Stop it. You know good and damn well, with or without Caitlin Clark, they're going to probably win the gold again. That's not what this conversation is about. This is about what I will personally label the idiocy of Team USA women's basketball. How dare you make this decision? It's stupid.
If she wasn't ready, then what changed? That's the question no one wants to answer directly, because the skill set didn't suddenly appear. The range wasn't new. The vision wasn't new. The confidence wasn't new. The only thing that changed was the spotlight. And once the spotlight expanded, the narrative had to adjust. But here's the problem. When a narrative shifts without acknowledgement, it doesn't evolve. It rewrites itself. And that's what's happening now. Look at the language. It's no longer, she's too early. Now it's, she developed quickly. She proved people wrong. She matured fast. That's not correction. That's repositioning. Because admitting the initial take was flawed requires ownership. Reframing it as growth preserves authority. And authority is currency in media. No one wants to lose it. But here's what makes this moment different. The clips exist. The commentary exists. The Olympic framing exists. And so does the pivot. You can't erase tone, you can't delete framing, and you definitely can't pretend it never happened when millions of people heard it in real time.
You think there weren't players that weren't jealous of Michael Jordan? That didn't resent Michael Jordan? Okay? Ask the Detroit Pistons how they felt about Michael Jordan and how much they enjoyed beating him up before he ultimately captured the championship. Eventually, he got tired of getting his ass kicked. Like literally, that slammed him to the floor, invoking Jordan rules.
Exactly.
And he got tired of all that, got himself bulkier, bigger, etc. And all of these things happen. The point is, Magic and Bird, Jordan, Kobe came along, there was resentment. I mean, the list goes on and on. It happens. So to me, there's nothing wrong with the resentment that you may feel towards what she represents. It's actually good because it provokes a level of hostility, which elevates the competitive fervor, and y'all go out there and compete, and everybody gets paid. But unfortunately, you almost feel like you have some folks within the WNBA that wishes that would rather not be in a very fruitful position because of their resentment towards her. And they won't admit it, but I've been talking about it for months.
This isn't about attacking analysts, it's about accountability. If you build a narrative around not ready and the evidence contradicts it quickly, you have 2 options. Admit you misread it, or quietly move the goalposts. And moving the goalposts is easier, because then the conversation becomes about progress instead of miscalculation. But the audience sees it. They saw the caution. They saw the skepticism. They saw the Olympic justification. And now they're seeing the pivot. And the pivot is happening without a reset. That's why it feels awkward. Because the narrative didn't collapse dramatically. It dissolved quietly. But quiet collapses are still collapses. Here's the deeper issue. The readiness narrative wasn't just about basketball. It was about control. Control of pacing. Control of hierarchy, control of who gets elevated and when. Caitlin Clark disrupts pacing. She accelerates timelines. She doesn't wait for comfort. And when someone accelerates faster than the system prefers, the instinct is to slow them down verbally. That's not malicious. It's protective. Protective of structure, protective of rhythm, protective of legacy. But once the acceleration proves sustainable, slowing it down becomes impossible. And that's where we are. If she continues performing at this level, if the ratings continue rising, if the sponsorship alignment continues expanding, there's no version of not ready that survives that. At that point, the narrative doesn't just weaken, it evaporates. And when it evaporates, you can't walk it back, because walking it back would require saying, "We got that wrong." And public authority rarely volunteers that sentence. So instead, we get reframing. We always knew she'd adjust. She just needed the opportunity. She was growing into it. Those lines preserve credibility, but they don't erase the original framing. And that's why this moment feels bigger than one game. It's not about one debut. It's not about one endorsement. It's not about one date. It's about narrative control slipping. Once the audience begins to question the framing, trust recalibrates. And when trust recalibrates, power shifts. That's the part that makes this uncomfortable, because this isn't just about Caitlin Clark dominating. It's about the realization that the story told about her might not have matched the reality. And once that realization spreads, it doesn't just change the conversation around her, it changes how people listen. And when the audience starts listening differently, the old narratives don't land the same. Which leaves us here. If she wasn't ready, then what changed? The answer isn't her game. It's the story. And once a story collapses in public, you don't get to quietly rebuild it.